Well, there's an open message to Mr. Edward from the state the superintendent's office for the school system. You asked various questions with reference to what's happening at ZMSGT Middle School. I'm sort of trying to answer this. Prior to an incident in December, I've had a lot of negative type of interactions with the school, specifically with Dr. Smith. In particular, some issues I had to address was the level of professionalism being exhibited by teachers. For example, one teacher, Ms. Ballard, consistently reported that grades were being put in and so forth, and there was no grades being entered into their school system as verified by Miss Woodson, who ended up, AP Woodson, who ended up addressing matters. And the end result was that Miss Ballard was reporting that a whole lot of grades were being input and she had done a whole lot of work when there was no work that was done at all, and assignments had to be turned in that she reported was turned in. And so you had sort of a bad communication, or actually just lying with reference to what's actually being done by her. Then I had gotten second reports that she was just had to be assisted by another teacher because she was refusing to teach in the schools, and just went into the classroom and said, I ain't gonna teach y'all. Y'all just not, since y'all treat me disrespectfully, I'm just not gonna teach you. So she was assigned an assistant teacher, one of the veteran teachers also. And so that's sort of the beginning framework of inappropriate activities. And you have other teachers fighting in front of students, to one veteran who was leaving and then was fighting with Miss Jones and so forth. And you had also some other issues with reference to, in particular, teachers responding with cuss words, teachers responding with racial epithets, teachers were responding with sticking up middle fingers and so forth. So this is a pattern of behaviors and a level of professionalism that was being addressed with the school system prior to a December incident. The December incident in particular was when Diamond Silver had passed away, and basically the grieving kids with PTSD wanted an outlet to go ahead and express their grief. They wanted a moment of silence to a concert because her chair was empty. They wanted the locker rooms. They had placed material on their locker rooms in memorial of her. But the school system's choice of response was she was a bad student and attention seeking. So we're not going to allow certain things to happen in memory of her because we don't want other children to follow her path. Well, in doing so, without developing an accurate picture of what Diamond went through in her home circumstance, I addressed that issue with the school system. I said, how are you going to label her an attention seeker and a bad child when you haven't been in a school home environment, you haven't talked with therapists and social workers, and you didn't know the mindset and you didn't even know if someone was in the school was egging her on to go ahead. But at post Diamond incident, and I warned them, I said, by labeling that child an attention seeker and not allowing the kids to grieve and not allowing any due, what do you call it, supervised clinical type grieving process wherein the kids are provided avenues to express themselves without providing appropriate social clinical avenues to express themselves. What ended up happening is the child got labeled as a attention seeker, really bad child, and not to be followed. And then anyone who associated with her was then thrown into that group or labeled as psychotic, and were being targeted as being for bullying. And one of the paramount incidences that I had addressed with Mr. Light was Emory. Emory went ahead and kept saying to my daughter, hey, look, Diamond is dead. Diamond is in hell. And also picking on this subgroup of people, of kids who sat in the first table, according to them, according to the kids, my daughter in particular, the survivors of the diamond incident were sitting on a first table, and the middle table is a neutral table, and the last table is a bad kids table. And apparently Emory was kept making comments, and to the point that he threatened to fight my daughter. He made an invitation to fight. Said, "Come on, let's take it outside." All my daughter was asked, "Please don't have Diamond's name in your lips if you're going." So that was bullying and teasing, and that qualifies under mental health, because my daughter's PTSD, and so is the group of kids that are PTSD from the incident. So for someone to go ahead and start making comments like "Diamond is dead," and so forth, you are really, that's just not a comment. That's just devastation, especially when considering the fact that my daughter feels somewhat responsible because we didn't get there in time to help Diamond out. When we arrived at the Diamond's home, there was the county vehicles and investigators were out there. So she feels like if we would have got there quick enough, we would have been able to save her life. So she's bearing in her mind a lot of responsibility for Diamond's death, and she doesn't. And for someone to go ahead and use those key phrases repeatedly to egg her on, to go ahead and instigate a fight, and when it's brung up to administration and nothing gets done, that's inappropriate. I'm sorry, and it's a pattern of it being inappropriate. A pattern, and the thing is what's worse, ever so worse, is supposedly Dr. Smith has a doctorate. She's been in the school system for a while, and not only that, she's supposedly a certified counselor. Now, if you're a certified counselor, you would know the devastation of someone making comments like that to a PTSD survivor. And I would think you would ensure or take harsh or immediate reaction once stuff like that comes across your desk. But nothing was done. The matter initially with Diamond was handled inappropriately. We have continuing reports of inappropriate actions by staff at the school. So it's teaching staff who are just making comments that are really insensitive and would qualify for me as just gross incompetence. I mean, especially when it's coming from counseling staff. And the gist of it is supposedly that Dr. Smith is accordingly following county policy. I don't see how county or state policy would entail forbidding kids to have a moment of silence during a concert. I don't see where kids cannot put up memorial things up for this child. And so, but everything that they have been placed on memorial on Diamond's lockers, for example, was just thrown out without talking to the children, without trying to return their stuff, without channeling them, their emotions properly, without helping them to process the scenario. So that's the type of adverse school environment that my child is being sent to. And offers were made to help out. Just recently, I went ahead and offered to do ZMS watchdogs to see, to make sure my child is safe, and go on campus and just roam the hallways. Now, one of the biggest problems is this: during class time, the PTSD survivors were meeting in the bathroom that Diamond attempted to commit suicide. Supposedly, according to the school, they investigated it and we found no evidence to support that conclusion. Well, I beg to differ. Because of the whole mannerism, the way they're conducting themselves, and I have to send along additional emails on the Ballard situation. Not only was Ballard was actually hired onto the school, and I would think once you make fraudulent reports of that nature, like she did, that you would not be able to get off any probation period or not be able to be assigned as a permanent. So it looks like there's some disparity there with reference to what the administration considers acceptable type of behavior and level of professionalism. So that's a question in my mind and basically what I've asked for the state to do is to investigate something seriously wrong at the school. Something seriously wrong when attempted suicide occurs at the school in the bathroom the day before the child actually dies. And then something seriously wrong was when PTSD survivors are allowed to go ahead and meet that room. And in addition, something is seriously wrong when on the day that the main security person from the central office is in the office and had just gotten through a meeting with me. Here, the same scenario, the same conditions that I complained about, girls congregating in the bathroom and so forth, was evident. So my daughter had to plow through a girl's room filled with girls and a boy just going in and out of the girl's room. It's like, so what else is next? Just having sex at school too? What's the limit? What is the boundary? And I feel like those type of conditions need to be investigated. I feel like the school needs help. And I just think Dr. Smith's action is totally inappropriate. I don't think, and that's considering the level of neglect. I mean, the professional standard that she would be held accountable for is even higher than most because she has a doctorate and she has certification as a counselor. So for her to be engaged in these actions, totally inappropriate, and it's reprehensible. And I don't know how to reconcile it. I mean, how do you justify those type of actions by someone with such degree-bearing education and personal background and experience? It just doesn't make sense. You would think she would be able to govern the school better. You would think she would have been taking proactive measures to make sure the safety and make sure kids weren't meeting in that bathroom and make sure you didn't have a copycat suicide. And this is just, and not only that, the worst case scenario is just allowing a child to go ahead and say, do a provocation to fight and then say, Diamond is dead. Oh, she is in hell. That's just, I don't get it. So like I said, I don't want to be just a complainer. I offered my help to the school. I offered to be a part of the watchdogs there to go ahead and help, but that help apparently is not being accepted by Ms. Smith. I don't want an adverse scenario relationship to continue. I know right now it's an adverse hostile scenario, but the thing is that I didn't set it up. And to be called a harasser during the school meeting and say, look back on your emails. I look back on my emails. They were just requests to help my daughter, requests to protect my daughter, requests to go ahead and take corrective action in an adverse school environment. That's all I said. And for that to be construed as hostile and to be construed as harassing, I don't understand it. It's like, as I mentioned to AP Light, I said, when the scenario and when the things were in place the way they were set up by Dr. Smith, I knew it was coming that some sort of adverse action would happen with the daughters and the PTSD survivors because you set up their environment. You set up a hostile environment towards these kids. And you're not allowing and providing the right appropriate clinical setting and or school setting to allow them to properly thrive and process these things while they're attending that school. So that's the scenario they set up, not me. And I don't understand, but Mr. Light and Miss Smith seems like they lack insight. They don't understand it. They don't comprehend it. It's totally beyond their level of comprehension, which is another thing that I don't get it. That's the scenario, and I'm hoping this message to you is a little bit more plain. So you understand, I am requesting an investigation to investigate the history of events that have been happening since more recently December, but to include a comprehensive look at the overall professionalism and integrity of this principal, whom is allowing a lot of bad stuff to go on. Fraudulent. I mean, one teacher at Wendell Elementary, Ms. Faison, fired her because of this same type of fraudulent activities. And I don't understand how in one school is accepted, the other school. So is it a racial thing? Is it a disability thing? Is it an ethnic thing? I think it might be. When you provide preference to certain people and you let them get away with things that typically are below professional standards. That's my concerns, and now it's in video form because apparently, Mr. Edward, you're not understanding or wanting to read comprehensively everything that I've sent to you. I put it all in email form. I put it in writing because I'm a writing type of guy because I don't like to be, it come back to me, well, you never said anything, you never wrote anything. No, it's all in black and white. All my concerns have been previously voiced. There's a timeline, there's a history, and so forth. All you got to do is read the emails with Dr. Smith. Just go ahead and ask her for them. Ask her for every email from Ronaldo Oliveira. Go ahead. That's all you need. And I provided them to you anyway. Thank you, and I really hope that you're able to go ahead and address this matter properly. God bless. Have a nice day. Take care.